Can I throw out some numbers in that case? So from having the World Cup last year in the middle of winter, looking at the number of injuries, on average, the amount of time players were out went up from about 11 days to 20 days. On top of that, there's a 170% increase in ankle injuries, 200% to the calf or shin, and 130% for the hamstrings. So those are all wear and tear injuries more than anything else. Sorry, just want to throw this in. The financial impact rose for clubs by 30%. We're talking millions and millions. And FIFPro, 44% of players who in Qatar experienced more physical fatigue and 23% more mental fatigue. I think that's very important as well in the January following the World Cup compared to all their other seasons.
I think they should get out of social media.
You think it's social media?
Yeah, mentally, you have the fans constantly on them, day and night. So stop spending so much time on social media. First of all, you will fix a lot of problems because you won't feel the pressure. They need to spend time focusing. Now they're out all the time. Now they go and chill in lounges. Now they don't have the same lifestyle as we did. And it's more important to go out and celebrate with the phone than being focused and recovering at home in front of the game.
Like Ronaldo does, which is why he comes back to the Premier League and scores.
There is no secrets. There is no magic. If you rest, you can perform. If you eat well, you can perform. But how many of them are doing this? It's easy to come out on the press, complain, but when you suffer from mental health because you see everyone going at you on the social media, you are to blame. Get out of social media if you're not happy.
I think I'm a rose between two thorns here. Those numbers that you're giving are no coincidence. You know, players are getting more injuries due to more minutes and more playing time and the demanding of their game.
But you can't say that, Jermaine, because they're not playing more minutes. I haven't got the stats.
So how comes the players are not?
Tomorrow I'll bring you the stats and I'll go through of the top players in the country, the amount of games they're playing a season.
I think the game's changed though.
Let's go Man City then. Last season they played in 3 tournaments to win the treble. A lot of those players played the majority of those games. It's amazing when you're winning that you're never injured, isn't it? You're never injured when you're winning. They're always going out there. The pitches are worse back in our day, right? You didn't have the nutritionists, you didn't have the physios, you had more games to play in. You know, how many of these teams now, they only really take the Champions League and the Premier League seriously. Most of them rotate in the FA Cup and the Carling Cup or whatever it's called. They rotate the teams. So they're only concentrating on those, and then I know you have to play the internationals. I understand the players are...
Nations League now as well, let's not forget.
Well, the nationals, which I understand why the players wouldn't want to play that. So I think you've got to be careful. It's like Pep Guardiola once said, don't rely on stats, rely on what you see with your eyes.
Yeah.
So I'm looking, and I know that these players aren't playing more than what we played in the day, and they're better looked after. So it's a mental side of things. Do you know what I mean? I think the pressure, which I think is important, of what Jermaine said, I think the pressure on the players, like to win league titles, to win the Champions League, has become more intense because that's what the clubs focus on.
Fair play, yeah. Jermaine, I mean, anything to contribute there? Shall I just say one thing quickly?
Yes, go for it.
There seems to be less recovery time in the off-season now. There seems to be more to be done in the off-season for footballers rather than having a proper 2 months off. I understand sometimes you have a Euro, sometimes you have a World Cup, but now you've got the Nations League coming in between. Now you've got all these other tournaments, and it seems to be a battle at times between UEFA and FIFA and trying to have bigger tournaments and make more money for themselves. I don't know, maybe I'm guessing too much.
I think each decade of the game, it evolves and gets faster and stronger. I would say you look back 30 years to then 20 years and 10, you'll see how the game has changed and how demanding it is now on these players. Like I said, you've got Europa League now, Europa Conference, your Champions League, and you play on a Sunday, then you've got a game on the Tuesday or the Wednesday. It is demanding. And even when I was playing, I was at a team Stoke. And towards the back end of the season, my body will feel all right. I can't wait till the season finishes so I can have a break, not mentally and physically. But these players playing at the top of their game, the top 4 teams, top 6 teams who are elite players who have to perform at that high level, this is why we're seeing a lot of injuries, because it is demanding. I understand what Carl's saying is that back in the day,
talking about playing football.
Yeah,
do you know an ordinary man in the street who's looking at these footballers? And I got to be honest with you. I'm being honest with you. If an ordinary man's in the street who's looking and saying, right, these footballers are earning this type of money, right? You get a break, right? So they get a few days off. Where do they go? Jet off somewhere to go on holiday instead of preparing for the games, right?
Oh,
see him at Grand Prix, see him at the boxing in Abu Dhabi. They're all jetted off when the manager's giving a few games. You know, there's a lot of clubs who don't play in this period of time because of the internationals that have just gone on. All of those players will be off. They'll all be away from those clubs. So the international players, I understand what you're saying about the
Nations League.
Nations, absolute waste of time. But when I played in the summer, we were at the World Cup, European Championship, or, you know what happens? The club then goes, right, we're going to go early and take you on a tour to Asia or whatever, or America to get money.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, you've got to look at the facts. The games they're playing are less because they're rotated. You know, they're playing half the games. So therefore, I think the pressure is more, but if you're successful, doesn't pressure come with that?
So what would be the reason why the players are picking up more injuries? Because I think they all look after themselves.
Well, I'll tell you something. One thing I notice, a lot of them with the boots they're wearing, some of the boots with you know, like back in the day, we just wore studs. Some of them wear blades, some of them wear, and they twist to get knee injuries, ankle injuries, you know, and picking up. I mean, listen, I'm old school, and I'm sorry. I've played, you know, year after year after year. And you know what also we've done back in the day? Because these players don't have to worry about appearance money, back in the day, we were on appearance money. So we had to get up and get out and play. These players are getting paid a lot of money, and then they hear things on social media and the media, and all of a sudden they're tired. Never tired when they're winning. When Man City at the end of last season and they're kicking into form and they're playing Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, all of a sudden they've gone into another gear at the end of the season because they can see this is going on. I mean, the intensity they played with in the Champions League.
Yeah.
That was right at the end of the season.
It's a different lifestyle. We used to hide. I remember if we finished the game and wrote something on Twitter, the coach will hammer us. Now, none of this. I understand it's a different generation, okay. But when you do something, you got to assume. If you go on social media, if you travel across the world, because there is boxing, as I said, and you can't assume the fact that people are right after you because you're not resting and you're not performing, you are to blame. I'm sorry. When you do something, you need to assume. And I would be interested to see a study about the lifestyles of the players. We used to rest. It was not even able for us to go out clubbing. We were not allowed going restaurant before the game. Now it's a totally different era. I understand it's a change, but you can't have it all. If you want to get paid, as you're claiming, you need to play. Otherwise, it's going to change. So you can't complain.
I just want to finish off with going to try to summarise what he said. Simon Jordan, your colleague now on radio, and an old friend of yours, Carlton. I think he said if the players really do feel overworked, would they take a pay cut to play less games? And he said no, they wouldn't.
But why have you got to take a pay cut? It's if you're not 100% at your best level, you're then punishing your team to a certain degree. So it's best that you get your body back in the best shape to give you the best team the best output. You shouldn't have to take a pay cut if you're working hard and then your body needs that recovery time.
But the games evolved now, Jermaine, now where there's that much money in the game for players now.
But it doesn't matter how much money you get. But your body doesn't. Your muscles don't go, I'm getting paid X, Y, Z.
No, but
your muscles would react the same to a million to a pound.
I'm not bothered about the money. I'm not really bothered about the money, right? But what I'm saying to you is because the money's guaranteed, it's a different mentality. You know, I earned top money back in the day. In '92 was the exception of the Premier League. I was on top money, and it's all relative. But the difference was, when I was in the dressing room with Gary McAllister, 38, Gordon Strachan at 40, they're playing 80 games a season, right? The players now, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how hurt Alisson was there. Do you think he went down holding his hamstring because he was genuinely hurt, or do you think he went down because he's made so many ricks with his kicking today? And that was a little bit for me as, oh, I've got a little bit of a hamstring. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes, and we've got to be careful now because we're going on to subjects about mental health, but we have to draw a line on this because in football, you go through difficult times. In life, you go through difficult times. So, are you suffering because mental health because you're playing too many games, or is it just you're going through a difficult time? You have to get through it. You have to show that character to get through it. And all you have to do is look at the modern day game. And we're only talking a season or so ago when Ronaldo come back to Manchester United and proved at his age he could still cut it, and why. Ibrahimovic.
He was not a starter though. Ronaldo, he was always on the bench. I think Ten Hag put him on the bench for.
But he still proved that he could do it. Ibrahimovic, what age was he still going at? 39.
You have Joe this season with AC Milan. He's still performing. He's still not happy when he doesn't play. It's reverse. He's old school.
Look,
when these players don't play, they're not happy on the bench. They want to play.
We're not talking about every single professional footballer here. There is select through that bodies react different to games. Some players can play 100 games, not an issue, and there'll be some players who struggle with that. So we're not, I'm not talking about or defending every single professional player in the game right now.
But what would you say then, Jermaine? Then what would you say would be comfortable for a Premier League footballer to play this season games as an international footballer?
Well, I think most footballers back in the day would be, well, I was playing was 38 games. That's your game for the season.
That's a single league season.
There you go. And after that season finished, your body would feel it. But the players now have got international, they've got, like I said, Europa League, they've got Champions League, you've got FA Cup, you've got Carabao Cup. There's a lot of competition. If you're going all the way in them...
Yeah, but they're not playing no games. Yeah, they're not playing in the Caribbean or whatever. So I would expect a top player in the Premier League to comfortably be able to play 55 games in a season.
This is what I used to do.
But it doesn't mean that your body can't feel it. Your body will feel it.
You're going to be tired. Of course you're going to be tired.
Listen,
listen, when I went to the European Championships in '92, I played 78 games that season in all competitions. When we got to the final game against Sweden, I'll be honest, when I walked out of on the pitch, I had nothing left, and I was one of the fittest players in the Premier League. But that's after 78 games. Do you know what I mean? We've got players now who... I know we've had the Winter World Cup, but we've also had a break, and then there's still players who haven't even got to 25 games yet who are saying, oh, I'm tired. It's not acceptable to me.
Final comments? Back?
No. To me...
You know my position.
I agree. I'm old school, so I don't understand why playing 50 games in the past should be a problem today. Because we did it. We did it as an ex-player. We did it. We played 50, 55 games, combining Champions League, national team, and the league.
Last question, but every single player who played that, were they fine? Were there some players that, boss, I need a rest, or some players that are tired?
Depending on the game. If it was Champions League game, everyone was fit. If it was a Carabao game and we had to play up north, suddenly some players, they were tired. They needed some rest. So some players were picky, yes, but everyone was able to play. When you reach interesting games, everyone was fit. Why? It's mental. It's what you have inside. And if you desire to play, this is what we're fighting for since we are 6
Well, I'm going to give
old.
you an example now. Declan Rice, I don't think... I'd have to check this out, but I don't think he's missed one game in 3 seasons. Last year for West Ham, he played every game, every Europa game, and every international for England. And how's he playing for Arsenal this season?
I think the argument for that is, and this has been compared to Jude Bellingham, in that Jude Bellingham has played more games at this age than Wayne Rooney did. And Wayne Rooney, I think he said that he was probably playing too much when he was young. I mean, he was a phenom. Yeah. There's no doubting it. Yeah. When you talk about bursting onto the scene, there's one guy that burst onto the scene. 100%. And maybe he burnt out a bit too later on, earlier than others.
Well, because he made his debut at 15.
Well, exactly. And he's scoring against Arsenal, you know.
Yeah. You've got to, when you're in the top teams, you've got more of the ball, you're working more to create stuff and on the attacking phase. If you're at a team who's always just back there defending, like if he's at a West Ham, they don't have the ball majority of the time. They're just holding back, trying to be defensive to stop teams scoring against them. So you look at the teams and the injuries probably come from players who are more active, more always in the game. Like KDB now probably ran out, Kevin De Bruyne, and picked up an injury because he was burnt out.
Yeah, really good point. Michael Owen, I think, is another example of someone that was playing an exceptionally large amount of football at a very young age.
Never looked after himself, Michael Owen, and that's where it happened. Kevin De Bruyne has played a lot of football, but because of the way he's built, I could always see him picking up injuries. He always has done all over his career.